Action Comics number 10, Superman Goes to Prison. Not exactly the most accurate title because Superman never technically goes to prison. Clark goes to prison, but he's not Clark at the moment. You get what I'm saying. He's also not being sent to prison because of his actions from the last two comics, which he deserves to be sent to prison for. A man named Walter Crane has been calling editor of the Daily Star, not Planet yet, George Taylor, about a story he can give the exclusive on. George doesn't quite trust this, so he sends Clark to go investigate. Walter Crane turns out to be an escaped prisoner. He's on the run. He tells Clark about a prison in Coreytown run by a warden Wyman, and it's basically just torture. This man is whipping people to death. He's locking them in boxes. Pretty much any kind of torture he can get away with, he does it. And it's just hell in Coreytown. Superman doesn't 100% believe this story, but he writes it up. It gets printed. Governor Bigsby goes and visits Wyman at Coreytown. Even before the governor shows up, we see him basically whip a man to death. We are told he is killed. The prisoners are too afraid of Wyman's wrath, so they don't tell Bigsby anything is wrong with it, and Governor Bigsby goes away believing the story is a fake. Wyman, now knowing about the story, goes to, it says Metropolis on the DC fandom wikia, but it's still not Metropolis, so we're kind of assuming this is Cleveland, Ohio, even though it's never quite said it's Cleveland, Ohio. I've mentioned this before. Wyman shows up and threatens to sue the entire newspaper. He continues to threaten until someone shows him to where Crane is. Taylor won't give him up, and the rest of the newsroom won't give him up, but Clark, having to pretend to be a weakling, gives him up. Here is where the story really starts to lose me, as specifically a Superman story and my ideal Superman. Clark just lets him beat up this dude who he kind of already knows is probably going to kill him and take him back to prison. Once again, Superman does two things to solve a problem in these comics. He either threatens the man until he confesses, or he threatens the man to leave town. Two things he can just do right now. But he doesn't. And in fact, this is the first comic where he can just do it right away, but he comes up with the excuse that he needs evidence, because we actually need a plot to the comic. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but he doesn't need evidence any other time he does this. This just seems to be filler or reasons to stop the plot and make it longer. And once again, not exactly a bad thing. But when he does this, bad stuff happened to people that he could have just saved, and that is very against what I think Superman is. So he goes back to Coreytown. Clark is hated in the office for doing that. Everyone thinks he's a coward. He then comes up with a disguise, Tim Daly, D-A-L-E-Y, which is very close to the name Tim Daly, without the E, the man who did the voice in the Superman animated series from the 90s. I just thought that was funny. Clark, as Tim Daly, buys a car and gets into an accident and a fight in Coreytown. My God, he just still has money to just buy a car anywhere. Man, the 30s are awesome. Except for all the horrible things. He gets sent to Coreytown, where he's immediately put through many different tortures, like being bound, whipped, eventually gets thrown into the box. None of these things do anything to him. And this is actually kind of fun if, other people weren't being horribly mistreated at the time. During the night, he becomes Superman, bright blue costume, red cape, Superman. And he kind of moves around taking photos. At that time, Crane is trying to escape again and gets shot climbing the fence. Superman has to go out and help him, where a guard dog attacks. He lets the guard dog miss him and fall into quicksand. You know how quicksand is readily available all over Ohio? How many times do you accidentally fall into quicksand a day? And just lets the dog die. There's another mark against him in this comic. Takes Crane back where Crane is going to be tortured, but at least he's being healed. Superman has had enough of all this, and he takes the warden and throws him into the box. He then rushes off, grabs Governor Bixby out of bed, and brings him to the box where the warden is. The warden refuses to confess until Superman says that he's basically going to leave him in there to die. And that is when Wyman confesses. Story over. Could have done that 10 pages ago. Clark returns to the Daily Planet as a hero. Not in my book. So yeah, Superman's still making odd decisions in the Golden Age that I do not agree with. This is definitely not my Superman. Hashtag not my Superman. Of course, he's not really going to be defined that way until the 70s, but we gotta continue to watch that growth to see how the fans of that time who become writers in the 70s create that version of Superman. There's a little bit in there, but not as much as I was hoping. But we're only 10 issues in. There's still plenty of Action Comics and eventually Superman comics. So that is it for Action Comics number 10. Tomorrow I'm going to do something very different, but as I said, we're going to talk about his evolution, so I'm going to do a different kind of video tomorrow. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when a new video goes up, usually every day. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.